Truth behind disease nowadays is not about the foods that we eat. It's not about the lifestyles that we're living. It's more a lack of understanding. If a person has understanding, they have the ability to eat more foods or less foods or better foods. They have the ability to understand disease so that they can prevent disease. You see how we can backtrack? It's not about the disease. It's not about the food. It's not about the lifestyle. It's about this. It's about understanding. It's about not inheriting information from people. It's about being self-aware. It's about doing your own due diligence of what's right so that you yourself can pass on the lineage of understanding to your kids that is fruitful, that makes sense. If you can't educate yourself about what is right and what is wrong, then you do not have an opinion. You don't have suggestions to give. You have no quality to add to any conversation related to anything if the knowledge is not there. We should definitely focus on education, and not the same education that the schools provide, not the diploma, the degree, the master's or the bachelor's or whatever it is that society wants to label a piece of paper and tells you that you're educated. It's more self-awareness, and you yourself have to go out there and find the truth. And this falls under every category, not just fitness. Everything that we do is based on us following somebody else telling us what to do. We put all our faith in the sheikhs and the priests and the news and the media and the doctors, and we just think that they are not normal people. They are normal people that make mistakes. So what we need to do is we need to make better choices and self-education. We need to compare what is right and what's wrong and make the decision ourselves so that we can pass on a more clear, pure form of education to our children. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about insulin resistance. Diabetes doesn't happen overnight, nor does a stroke, nor does a plaque on your arteries consistently over a long period of time to cause a heart attack. These are things that take a long time. Self-education will teach you how to prevent these things, how to live a healthier lifestyle, make better choices. So insulin resistance today, the topic of insulin resistance. Let's dive into the pathological breakdown of how it is formed in the body, how it affects the body, and how we could potentially avoid insulin resistance. So if you look at a human being today, the way they live compared to 1,000 years ago, you'll see that the modern technology has changed a lot, changing people's habits and changing people's lives. And children that are born into this world will just adapt. They will adapt, they will be born into it, and they will think it's a norm. And once technology changes for the new generation, the new kids will be born and think that it is normal. So it becomes a norm for the new generation. No airplanes, no cell phones, no TVs, no pagers, no way of communicating other than traveling on a horse for thousands of kilometers. Try to live in that moment. How was food preserved? There were no grocery stores, there were markets. There were no refrigerators. There were no processed foods. If food was not eaten consistently throughout the day, the main objective of life was to be providers for your family, focus on God, and those are the main things that people were doing. Religious people thriving to understand nature, to understand God, and surviving through eating not as consistent as we're doing right now. Our mentality's changed. Now it's become about pleasure. How can we get more pleasure out of this world? So when it comes down to insulin resistance, think of insulin. Insulin responds to sugar or anything that turns into sugar. Think of sugar as the toxin that is entering your body. The pancreas will secrete insulin every time you eat and sugar goes into your bloodstream. The pancreas's job is to go in there and take away the excess sugar. And the reason why our bodies are built this way, because sugar is not good for you. The amount of sugar at one time that should be in a person's body is 100 milligrams per deciliter, which is approximately 5 grams of sugar, in 1.5 gallons of blood, in all of your blood, which is approximately 1 tablespoon of sugar. An 8-ounce glass of orange juice or a Pepsi that has 39 to 40 something grams of sugar. If you only need 5 in your bloodstream, where do you think the other 34 grams are going to go? They're going to be stored as fat. Now, insulin resistance works in a very basic way. When you eat sugar in any way, everything turns into sugar, into glucose in your body. So when you eat more than what's needed, and you keep doing that continuously, what happens is your body starts shutting down. It doesn't want it no more. So as a protective mechanism, it puts up barriers, something called blocked receptors. So basically, when you eat too much sugar, you get hyperactive. You get high insulin spikes that basically shoot up so high so that they can go into your bloodstream and clear out the excess sugar. And when that happens, you become cranky, you start having all these cravings, and that's the reason why. So you keep eating more because, you're cranky, you're hungry, you're irritable, you're dizzy, and the reason why is because you're getting high spikes of sugar. And then your natural response is that insulin goes in and takes the sugar away. So then your body thinks that it needs more. So it tells you that it needs more food. But technically, we shouldn't be adding that type of sugar in our diets. Now, we keep eating lots of sugar, and our insulin keeps spiking, and it drops the sugar all the way down until the body says stop. So to protect itself, it turns off the receptors in the cells. Now, after years and years of continuously eating sugar, so many times a day, no gaps no breaks at all, not giving your pancreas a break. That's like a best friend, knocking on your door every day with gifts. They got gifts and they're coming and they're a good friend. But the minute they come once and twice and 3 times, 4 times and 8 times a day, continuously for 30 years, eventually you're going to shut the door and you're going to tell that person to buzz off. And that's what is happening to the cells in the body. What the cells are doing is that they continuously get insulin coming, knocking on its door saying, hey, I got sugar that I want to deliver, and nutrients that I want to deliver to your cell. And it lets you in, and eventually it shuts it down, and then it blocks the insulin receptors. It shuts it down, then it blocks it. Once you get insulin resistance, once your cells shut down, what happens is that insulin cannot pass by no more. But the problem is that your pancreas doesn't know that. Your pancreas is looking at the bloodstream and saying, wow, there's a lot of sugar in here. I need to protect the body. I need to protect the bloodstream. And it favors the bloodstream over the cells. It buffers it out. It keeps your blood clean. It keeps it clean from sugar. So it's going to continuously secrete insulin. So now you got your pancreas continuously secreting insulin over and over and over and over. They say about on average 5 to 8 times more than the average person if you have insulin resistance. What is that going to do to your pancreas? You're overworking your pancreas. Now, the definition of diabetes is when a person has a higher sugar level than 100 milligrams per deciliter. So what do you think is going to happen when you have insulin resistance? When your cells are not accepting sugar, not accepting nutrition? Now that you're all groggy, irritable, you're tired, you're dizzy, you're hungry, you got cravings, you just keep eating, and insulin's not going through your cells. So your pancreas keeps pounding back the insulin, but your cells are not accepting it. So what happens at that point is when you start developing type 2 diabetes, because your pancreas is overworked. And now that it's overworked and you're starting your type 2 diabetes, what happens is if that continues on for long enough, then your pancreas just completely shuts down and you're at a type 1 diabetes where you have to inject yourself with insulin. So if you go to a doctor and ask the doctor, because doctors are not educated in nutrition, unfortunately, they average anywhere from 2 to 70 hours of nutrition courses in all of med school. So if you go to a doctor, God bless them all, but they do not have the education. They don't have the education unless it's with prescribing medication or surgery. And not only is the pancreas a secretion of insulin. But there's two parts to the pancreas. There's a hormone part and there's an enzyme part. So the exocrine gland also is part of the pancreas. And you start to have digestive problems like pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. Bowel movements are complicated, undigested proteins. So what we want to do is really understand the background of what diabetes really is, how the pancreas functions. And if you are really putting it in overdrive, then it's probably a good idea to give your pancreas a break. But most people don't understand what's happening in their body. They don't understand that the pancreas is working and secreting insulin. And this goes back to understanding. Understand your body to prevent disease. Understand religion to find the true faith. Understanding is the most important part to fix the problem. Without understanding, we are blind and we are walking in circles around each other, not knowing what we're doing, thinking that there's no solutions, but the solutions are so close. It just needs a little bit of effort to find the truth.